Hi, this is Lada from astrolada.com with your June 2018 horoscopes, and this month there is one big event happening in the stars, in the sky. This is Mars going retrograde, and I'm gonna walk you step by step what to do because it's a critical pivotal period. It can affect you for the next 6-7 months after that. But before I start, just to remind you that on the 27th of May we're starting a foundational course with me on the 12 houses of astrology, house rulers, planets in houses. You don't need to know any astrology, and it's going to be 6 months, and it's only $200. If you get on before May 27th, you get $50 off, and after that it becomes $250. It's my most successful course, and I hope you enjoy it. But otherwise, Mars, and I'm doing the same intro for all the 12 signs because I want to explain first how Mars works before it goes retrograde. And Mars goes retrograde once every 2.5 years. It's a very rare influence, but especially when Mars has gone retrograde in Aquarius like 40 years ago the last time. So the opportunities and the changes in your life that can happen now will affect you in a way that they haven't affected that they haven't been like for 40 years, almost like 40 or 50 years actually. 1971 or something, Mars went retrograde in the same place. And what does it mean to Mars go retrograde? It goes retrograde towards the end of the month. It means that Mars will be closest to Earth. From our perspective, it becomes a super bright red angry star in the sky. It means it's very strong. A retrograde planet being so much closer to Earth has its influence overpowering. So basically it will be like a boot camp of Mars energy for us for about 2-3 months while Mars is retrograde. And the most intense period is when Mars is changing direction. So this is happening in June and then again in August, towards the end in August. So from the middle of June till the end of June, it's going to be super intense time for many of us in specific areas of their life. So basically Mars till now was moving forward. Just imagine it's like you're driving, you're sailing with your ship in the journey of life forward, and you're kind of doing it on automatic. And you reach to some point. This is Mars. Mars is our actions, how we move forward, how we proceed. And often, you know, when you're driving a car and you're always on the same road, you kind of zone out and you do it automatically. This is when Mars moves direct. There are no surprises, things go according to your expectations. But now Mars slows down at the end of June. From the middle of June it slows down, the end of June it makes a roundabout and starts tracking back in the first 10 degrees of Aquarius again. So it means like almost like you reach a point here, you're driving your car and now there is a blockage. So something happens in your life that will require you to change direction in regards to your actions, in regards to the path you're walking down on. And when you're driving normally, you don't think much, it's automatic. But when when there is a blockage or you have to find a different road, you have to use a lot more of your willpower and a lot of more concentrated and focused thought, because now you're not on automatic. You have to find different solutions, you have to look for a different path, you have to fix some problem. That's what happens when Mars starts slowing down around that period, from the middle of June till maybe till the end of June. And it will require you to be a lot more conscious and present with using Mars energy. And Mars energy is moving forward, or your assertiveness, how you do things, your initiatives and activities. You can't just proceed on automatic. You have to be way more careful, way more contemplative, way more map out each step carefully, because you can make a mistake, or you can somehow hurt yourself, or you can otherwise, if you just continue like before, you can't reach the journey that you're supposed to go on. So there will be this slowing down and starting to move backwards, which means we'll slow down. Something happens here from the middle of June till the end, some crisis situation usually, or something that you hit some wall. And you have to change your direction of action. You have to change your plan games. You have to be prepared to be more flexible. And when Mars moves retrograde, it acts more like its second ruler, like Scorpio. Because when Mars moves direct, it acts more like Aries. Aries is move forward, let's initiate things, let's move ahead, very spontaneous, very, almost without thinking action. But when it starts moving backwards, it gets the energies of Scorpio more. So it means like we have to be much more strategic, much more planning, much more patient. Mars in Scorpio is patient and careful and maneuvers carefully. We have to use our willpower with way more precision, and we have to engage the willpower way more than at other times. Than we normally engage it. So it's intense period. But the ultimate goal of this Mars retrograde will be to basically help you fix some situation that is not healthy in your life or that's not productive. It's the ultimate goal is to teach you to use your Mars energy, which is initiative, assertiveness, courage, in a more productive way. If you're someone who is overly angry, something will happen here to show you that you cannot continue like that. If you're overly bossy or pushy or assertive, you'd have to reevaluate your martial behaviors, maybe apologize to people, fix something due to your impulsive energies before. Or because some actions that you've done before which were not with so much thought. Or if you're someone who has lower energy of Mars, so who is not assertive, who allows others to take advantage of them, who is not initiative, again you'd have to reevaluate your Mars behaviors, and you might have to confront those people that are blocking you from being, that are scaring you from being assertive, and you have to assert yourself. You have to, so that's why a lot more fights happen, a lot more arguments while you're readjusting the level of your Mars energy, how you initiate things, how you move forward in life, how you fight for what you believe, so all those things we're going to talk about them one by one. And Marina is doing a webinar on Mars retrograde as well in June. You can check, it's very cheap, I think it's $20 only. You can check her webinar as well, and there's a link below, and join her as well to see personally how it's going to affect you, because those predictions that I do, they're more general. They don't see specifically in your horoscope, but in that webinar she'll show you how to do it. And for Taurus people, Taurus rising, sun or moon, the retrograde Mars from the end of June will be in their 10th house. If this is Taurus, this is the 10th house for Taurus, where Mars moves, starts moving backwards. And that some kind of critical situation can happen in the second part of June. And what is the 10th house? Well, that's your social status. And that's also authority figures, that's your career. So maybe you hit some kind of obstacle in regards to your career or your career goals that you have to work much harder and use a lot more of your willpower to overcome or to fix. Maybe you're working on some career project that requires you to put 3 times more efforts while Mars is retrograde from the end of June than normally. But by the end of this process, maybe you'd have a way more organized and disciplined, and way more, maybe you'd have created, with all the willpower that you use in regards to your career, much more lasting results, and are able to move your career and social status to the next step. But you're not going to be aware of that before Mars turns direct again from maybe the end of August or September. By the end of September, you'll start seeing the results of those extra efforts and this crisis that you had to avert, or change something, or fix, or go back and rework on some career project, and finalize it, or how do I say, or fix it in some way. And on a more positive note, it can indicate that maybe some career project from the past is coming back to you, that you can, or maybe some career opportunity from the past is coming, but it will require a lot of your efforts again, a lot of energy to put in. The 10th house is also a social status. 2.5 years ago, basically Mars went retrograde in my 10th house. And this is when my whole social status changed. It's even directly related to marriage, because marriage is an influence on your social status. So for some of you Tauruses, that might be actually, reevaluating your social status, reevaluating your marriage even. And that's when I divorced, actually. I'm not saying if you're Taurus rising, you don't divorce in any way, but there is some reevaluation, there is some reassessment, having to readjust the layers there. Plus, the 10th house is authority figures. I remember in the same period as well, I kept the police kept stopping us, authority figures, police, so we kept having clashes with some authority figures, and Mars is an angry planet, so there might be the need to fight, or maybe with a father figure as well as the 10th house, or with a boss figure. Some of you might be pushed more to the limit by their bosses or father figures or authority figures in some way. And again, I advise you, don't start the war yourself. Don't start fighting with such people yourself, because usually the one who starts fighting during Mars retrograde is the one who loses the battle. But if you're being attacked, or if you're being pushed to the limit, you can defend yourself and you can stand up for yourself. But again, remember, till the end of June, don't lose your cool. Be more cautious how you proceed with such authority figures, with work, career, projects, because if you fuck it up, if you're too impulsive, and instead of being more careful, this can have repercussions for a long time, till 2-3 months after that you have to untangle that mess. But again, if you're forewarned and you're forearmed, so what else can be the 10th house? People who are in careers, if you're Taurus and you're in some Mars-related career, like in the military, in the police, in some sports, if you're a chef that works with metals, with sharp instruments of any sort, if you're like a gym instructor, yoga instructor, of anything that's physical, Mars, that's energetic, or if you're venture capitalist, Mars is very competitive, you can have a rare opportunity to really take your career to the next level. And for everyone, no matter what career it is, as I said, the 10th house is career. But again, it's first by confronting some crisis situation, by averting fixing some problem, by putting a lot more energy, and by September you can be on the next level. But you have to be more patient before that, and strategic, like I explained. And also be careful not to fight with parents or other authority figures. These are my warnings. This is something to prepare for, and something when you see it happening, you'll be like, oh, okay, so I know how to act now, So that's what it is about Mars starting to move retrograde towards the end of June for you, Taurus. On another level, Venus is gonna enter the second part of June into your 4th house, and 4th house, so basically from the 15th of June till the end. So it's a fast influence, but something positive can come to you in regards to your home, because Venus is where we can get more support easy. When the storm is happening here with Mars in your 10th house of authority figures and career, Venus is in your 4th house, which means that you can turn towards your 5th house for some support in the second part of June, when the energies become super intense. And that will be basically, you can get support from your mom, from your family. You can do something nice for your home. You can spend more time at home and with very close loved people. That restores your energy in some way as well, and that helps you, helps you do better. And you can buy something beautiful for your home, for your house. You can do your garden a little bit better. Venus does all those lovely things. And just to warn you, those Tauruses that have their ascendant sun or moon in the first 10 degrees, they're the ones that will feel this influence very strongly of Mars in the 10th house. So basically the first decan of Taurus born people, basically the April born Tauruses will feel this intensity, this kind of the need to change direction in regards to their career, the need to change direction in regards to how they deal with authority, how they assert their own authority with others. I remember when I had Mars retrograde in my 10th house, a big problem happened with someone that I was working, and I finally had to learn how to be the boss and to state and say no or yes, because before that I was allowing that person to tell me what to do, even though it was my business. So you see, the final result can be extremely positive, that you take your power back. But while you're in the midst of that storm with authority figures, of how you assert your authority and changing your social status and all this, it can be just more stressful. It can be just because you're challenged to use more willpower, So thank you so much, Taurus. Hope that's hope you enjoy that. And if you want to learn astrology, do come and join me. Or if you want to know personally how it will affect you specifically, take Marina's webinar on Mars retrograde.